Hello and welcome to a presentation of IRONCAD. We will use catalogs and drag and drop and show how fast you can work in IRONCAD. And to show this, I will use hydraulic equipment designed in IRONCAD by Industri Hydraulik AB. So thanks for that. And if I take a look here, I can use catalogs to create geometry, or I can use existing parts and drag straight into the 3D file. Okay, so what I will do here is to click on this component and I will drag and drop a filter, drag and drop here. Okay, and I will position it. You can see that it's positioning automatically in the correct way here because it has an orientation knowledge from this anchor point. Okay, so I can position it exactly with the tribal, right click, edit distance from point here, and I can choose a value like 500 millimeters in this direction, and I use tribal to position it also in the other direction. I can choose a value 350. Okay, I want to create holes for this filter in this red part, the lid. Okay, so I click on this just to explain that I want this and that to be create holes for, and I have a shortcut C. Then I can choose from my favorite catalog, Pro Drill for example, and now I have created the holes. So if I go here and right click and hide selected, I can see that it has automatically created holes because the models are smart and know how to behave. Show all again, yeah, and I can see I miss nuts and bolts, keeping this together, and I have catalogs here. I have lots of stuff here. I have fasteners, I have bearings, I have steel beams, stairs, and so on. I choose to drag fasteners assembly and drop it on the hole. If I have the shift key down, it will jump to the center of the hole. Here I can choose what kind of nuts I want to have and bolts. And in this case, I want it to be automatically calculating the length and also copy to all holes on this surface, automatically create assemblies with nuts and bolts or in all holes in one moment. Okay, so there I have them. And if I want to create an assembly containing all these nuts and bolts, I just right click and create assemble, and then I have them here. Okay, so it's very easy to keep things together in assemblies and sub-assemblies. I can see this electric cabinet. I can see that maybe this hole is a bit too small. So if I click on this hole, I can edit the cross section and modify the lines and dimensions, of course. I can create a new sketch or whatever, but I can also go here and choose, I can drag and drop features like this and also change them just by click on them and drag and drop from a catalog. So I can store stuff in catalogs, not only parts and assemblies, also features. If I now want to change this whole assembly, this electric cabinet, I can do that as well from the catalog. If I choose a smaller cabinet, which is a linked external file, drag and drop it here, it changed this assembly to a separate another assembly. And I can even go here to external link management, open part assembly. I can see this as a separate file. I can drag and drop this separate file from the catalog. So if I now create, let's say, if I want to, I remove the hole here, I can zoom in and I click on this and hit delete. If I now go back here to the main assembly, the hole has disappeared also here. Okay, and I can see here that it also missed some components here, okay? If I go and drag and drop, let's say a hole, whatever, just to show the principle, I can delete this one. Here I delete that hole, and maybe I can drag and drop a component to this hole here. Very easy to do that. I can create a new hole. Could be a special hole. I stored it in my catalog. It's very easy to modify and store another hole. I just drag and drop out. It's two-way. This catalogs works in two ways. Okay. So yeah, that's the first step. I will continue with the next step. Sometimes we can use the attachment points also for creating not only the position, but also the way it behaves, so we can tell the attachment points how to behave. And that means that if I go here after drag and drop, I can drag and rotate in certain way, and I can do that with tribal, I can do that with certain angles, or I can drag freely. And this is the attachment points I use for the components in the catalogs. It's very, very effective to create relationships, not only for position, but also that you can move parts correctly. In some cases, we can use parametric models and drag and drop, as this in this case with the balcony. I drag and drop, and I can precisely position it with the tribal on the wall. I can also create fence on drag and drop to the left side here, and as you see, it knows where to position itself and how big it should be automatically, because we have told the program to do that. And in this case, I also can show that if I want to position this concrete part of the balcony with precision, I use the tribal. I right click and choose distance from point, and choose that point, for example, and choose 500 millimeters. And in the other side, I can choose to drag the handle. I can shift snap to the corner of the window or to the edge of the wall. Okay. And I can also stop there, and you can see everything is recalculating itself automatically. It's maximum 100 millimeter between the bars. I can right click and choose a value to write in numerically as well. So it's also possible to store parametric models if I want to in the catalogs, and just drag and drop out to the 3D environment in IRONCAD. And this is a balcony. I can create assembly with all the parts of it and easily keep it together. Okay, next step. It's also possible to store 2D profiles in a catalog. Just drag and drop them into a 3D scene. This could be an imported DVG or DXF file as well, and you can easily create a 3D model just by dragging the handle. So now you have a 3D part based on a 2D profile. You can delete the original if you want to. And you can see in the history tree you have a cross section, and it's possible to move the lines, not necessarily by edit the cross section. You can right click and choose the distance from point, for example this, and choose 5 millimeters. So it's easy to import and extrude a 3D part based on a 2D profile in a catalog. Okay, it's also possible to work with cabinets, pneumatic or electrical cabinets, very easy, or hydraulic, whatever you want to do in a cabinet. It's very fast to create different parts and drag them in. You can drag and drop from a catalog, delete an existing component in a catalog, just drag it out, and now you can build your library. And then you can delete next time you want to use a thing. You just drag and drop it into this place, and it orients automatically correct. And you can position it as usual with tribal and snap to the next component. This direction, grab the midpoint and snap. You can also right drag and choose copy here, 8 millimeters, one copy. Okay. And furthermore, you have the possibility to create a hole when needed. If you have this kind of components, you can drag them in a separate assembly, and I can choose C for the shortcut to my favorite component. I just drag in Pro Drill. Now it's checking the whole assembly for holes that should be created, and it is now a hole for this component. This hole property was included in the part I have in the catalog. So it's very, very fast and easy to work with drag and drop and cabinets in IRONCAD. Okay, here I have a single part in IRONCAD with a history tree part and features that together build this part. If I want to, I can use the starter or shapes catalog. If I drag a shape on this existing part, it will be a feature in that part. Okay, I can choose to snap with handles, and I can click and add the correct value for the size. Okay, and this feature already got a cross section, so I can also modify the sketch if I want to, but it's not needed in this case at least. If I want to, I can create another part here. If I click here and just drag, I create a new feature. It's a feature in this part, okay? But I can also click on the surface, right click and choose create extrude and choose to have a new part. The part can be modified in the extrusion length and snap to that, for example. And now I have two parts. So if I want to cut through both, I can right drag and choose drop as assembly feature. I have more power when I right drag, okay? So I can snap to this edge, okay, and right drag. If I right drag, I have symmetrical modifications, changes, and right click and choose to center point and click on the circle here. Okay, now I have a assembly feature which I can convert to be a feature in the part as well. So now I can delete this one. Delete. It is now converted to be a feature in each part. So it is very important to understand that you have these features you can drag and drop in to IRONCAD, and you can move them around, and they can have intelligent behavior. The feature is not dependent on sketch plane and offset and so on. You can, but you do not need to work with sketches in IRONCAD. Really fast and simple way to work is this catalog also for sheet metal and different shapes. Okay, it's also interesting to know that we have catalogs also in the 2D environment in IRONCAD, and you can change drawing template with drag and drop. You can also create annotations, for example, welding arrow here, and I can change the size of the weld in the symbol. I can drag and drop reference symbol and so on, and surface tolerancing. And I also got, for example, text boxes in different languages I can use. So it's very fast and easy to work with catalogs also in 2D in IRONCAD. Okay, we have a last important announcement, and that is that you can go to our webpage, solidmakarna.se, and you can read about IRONCAD and download a trial or find our contact information and give us a call. You can also work with education material in IRONCAD Academy. We have a link here on our webpage, Academy. So you can start download and learn how to use IRONCAD directly today and understand the functionality much better if you try it yourself. So give us a call if you have a question and we will help you. Thanks for now.